Welcome to the Full Strength Father podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Corper, and today is episode 15. Episode 14 is titled Set the Standard, and I shared insights on personal standards and how those affect our behavior and ultimately our results. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about a self-evaluation process that I have been implementing and developing over the course of the last few weeks, and it's been life-changing for me. Now, if you've listened to earlier episodes, you'll hear me describe what I call the code. And this was a founding document that I wrote as I was going through this, through a change in my life, kind of coming out of darkness into light and really refreshing my perspective on who I was and getting out of a difficult time, working through some serious things. And so what I did is I created I spent a lot of time writing in that process of discovery. And I wrote a code, and I also wrote a purpose for myself that I could start operating by. Because, man, what I had felt was that I had lost touch with my purpose in life, my purpose as a father, and it was affecting my family. It was affecting my performance. It was affecting every aspect of my life, mentally, physically, spiritually, and I was going down the wrong path. And so for me, writing is very therapeutic, and it's a way for me to express thoughts and feelings and discover new ideas. So what I've done more recently over the last week or so is I've really started to dive into that concept of standards. And as I reflected on the code that I had written initially, I've decided to rephrase a few things with that original code and call it the standards of the full strength father. And I've reworded the 5 areas. I've kept the areas the same, but I've reworded them to be a present tense phraseology throughout the paragraphs, throughout the writing. So instead of I will be physically disciplined, it is now I am physically disciplined. And this is a standard for my life. And I just really, really like that phrase standards, as I described in episode 14, the previous episode, of this is how I operate. These are my standards. This is what I strive to hold. Holding the standard, holding the line on behavior, on what I am, who I am as a father is extremely important. So now I've refreshed the code into the standards, and I've adjusted the verbiage there. What I've also done is spent a good deal of time creating a self-evaluation process. Because what I've realized, and this comes from my background as an athlete and a strength coach, is that if you don't measure performance, it's virtually impossible to make any educated improvement on that performance. And so if I, as a father, say that I have these standards, I say that I have this way of operating, but I don't measure it in some form or fashion, how on earth can I improve it? So what we measure, we can manage and we can improve, and that is a fact. And so what I've created is this grid grading system for myself when it comes to these 5 standards. And that's what I want to dive into today. And I want to encourage you who are listening to this to think about a couple questions. First, do you have written standards for your life? And are they relevant to you? And secondly, do you have a way to evaluate regularly how you are living up to those standards or not living up to those standards? So think about those 2 questions, because maybe what I can give you today is an idea for a starting point for your own standards and your own self-evaluation process. A lot of the thoughts that I have from this self-evaluation process come from a book called The Code, The Evaluations, The Protocols by Jocko Willink. It's an amazing book, and I'd recommend you read it. It's inspired me to design this for myself. So the standards are physical preparation, mental discipline, spirituality, time management, and attention management. Excuse me. This grid grading system gives me the ability to grade each of those standards from a grade 0 to a grade 1. And then there's a range of grade 2 to 4. And then there's a grade 5. Excuse me. I just hit a run. And so for some reason, my voice is a little weird. Yeah, maybe I need to run more. So there's this grading scale from 0 to 5. And the way that I've written this is very, very intentional. And essentially, a grade 5 is something that is virtually impossible to achieve on a consistent basis because it is so exceptional. A grade 0 is where I'm in a state of digression. I am not progressing. I'm actually actively doing things that sabotage that area or that standard, if that makes sense. So then a 1 is above a 0. I'm trying, I'm making some efforts, but I'm not really excelling. And then grade 2 through 4, it's a very powerful range because that's really the range where you start to make incredible progress in these areas of life that I've outlined here, these standards. So I'm going to read these standards for you, and then I want to go through this grading grid, and we can reflect as we do this, and we can ask ourselves questions around these different grades and gain insight into it. So let's start with physical preparation. Here's the standard for physical preparation as a father, full strength father. I am physically disciplined. I take care of my body through exercising consistently, eating high quality whole foods, hydrating, and getting restorative sleep. I consistently push myself to develop new physical skills and abilities. I strive to be physically fit and prepared to the best of my God-given ability. As a father, I understand that my ability to lead, provide, and protect is directly tied to my physical fitness. So that is the standard that I strive to live up to. So here's a grade 0. This is a description of the grade in this little grid. So imagine on the left-hand column, on the x-axis, so going vertically, I have grade 0, 1, 2 through 4, and then 5. And then on the y-axis, so going left to right, I have these descriptions. And there's basically a column for each of these standards, right? So grade 0 for physical preparation, the standard I just read, is this: did not perform any meaningful physical activity. Did not do anything remotely valuable to furthering my physical well-being. Did not eat or hydrate properly. Consumed processed foods and caloric beverages with no regard for plans and goals. Did not get the nutrition necessary to provide for physical, emotional, and mental performance. Okay, so that is a digression, right? So there's key things that I've bolded there. Did not perform any meaningful physical activity. Did not eat or hydrate properly. So when it comes to physical preparation, I want to avoid those days at all costs. So if I can avoid those days for the rest of my life, then that's amazing, right? So this grade 0 is like 0 effort and in fact making poor choices when it comes to physical preparation. So here's a grade 1. Engaged in physical training enough to maintain current state, but not enough to progress. Training lacked intent and focus. Nutrition and hydration were effective to sustain basic health, but not enough to make significant progress towards my goals. Was inconsistent in my planning and execution of nutrition plan. Okay, so that's I'm trying, but it's definitely not at a level that I'd want. If I'm a grade 1, if that's what I fall to, if that's like my lowest, then I'll be okay. But the goal is to live in a 2 through 4 and then to occasionally strike a 5. Ideally, I want to get to a 5 every single day. But as you'll see through this description, it's very, very challenging. So here's a 2 through 4. Trained with high intent and focus. Made significant progress. Prepared mentally for training and reviewed efforts following training. Followed nutrition plan and progressed towards goals. Achieved adequate levels of hydration. Maintained consistency in preparation of food. Sustained performance throughout the day. All right, so that is a great day, and that's what we're striving for, is a 2 through 4. The reason that's a range is because it allows me to kind of, pull from those sentences and say, okay, I did really well here, but maybe not all of them. I'd say a 4 would be every single thing in that description, and then if I miss a couple, it'd probably be a 3 or a 2. So be pretty challenging to give myself a 4 every single day. If I am doing that, then I'm definitely I've got that standard on lock. Grade 5, gave maximum effort and intent. Every single element of training was of maximum quality, set a new standard for intent during training, prepared and followed through on my meal plan and goals perfectly. Every calorie and meal was optimal, and nothing was consumed that didn't contribute to health and nutrition. Set a new standard for nutrition quality and consistency. So as you can see, that grade 5 is that new level. That's definitely attainable, but very challenging to hit every single day. So that just makes you strive for that greatness. Now, if I look at my average from last week, so what I do is every evening I grade myself in these 5 categories. So this kind of gets into the tactics of how I do my self evaluation. So I spend about 3 to 5 minutes a night. I review this grid, and then I give myself a grade. Don't overthink it; just give myself a good grade. And then, so I do that Monday through Sunday. That Sunday night, I tally up the averages for the week from all these grades, and that gives me an actual description of what my week looked like. So I was a 1.7 on my physical preparation from last week. I hit a lot of 2s, but I had a couple 1s that dropped me down below a 2. So if I were to read my description for my week, it would be engaged in physical training enough to maintain current state, but not enough to progress. Training lacked intent and focus. Nutrition and hydration were effective to sustain basic health, but not enough to make significant progress towards my goals. Was inconsistent in my planning and execution of nutrition plan. And because it's a 1.7, and I did have 2s in there, I can kind of look at that and say, okay, I did have some days that were 2s, which was those high intent, mentally prepared, followed the nutrition plan. But it just goes to show you how easily just a couple days, because I only had 2 days there that were a 1, everything else was a 2. Just a couple days can pull down your week slightly from where it should have been with those standards. Now, here's what we don't realize if we don't track this stuff. Sometimes we go 4 or 5 days out of the week where we're not locked in, and then the other 2 days or 3 days we are. That's a really low average for performance when it comes to our standards. So how can we improve if we don't have a standard, and how can we improve on that standard if we don't have an evaluation process? The more I do this, the more it makes sense, and the more exciting it is for me, because I can actually quantify what my week looked like. So today, Monday, the date of this recording this podcast, I've done so much better on my nutrition and training today than I did last week. Definitely today's a 3 or a 4, and it's because of the accountability that this builds into my life, which is so powerful. Okay, so mental discipline. This is the second standard here. I develop myself mentally. I read, write, create, and engage in activities that sharpen and expand my mind. I focus on positive and uplifting thoughts. I fuel my mind through the intentional study of meaningful topics. I guard my mind against negativity, corruption, and evil. I know that maintaining a high level of mental discipline as a father will enable me to lead myself and my family to freedom. Here are the grades. Grade 0, mentally inactive and distracted. Did not engage in any activities to sharpen and expand my mind. Did nothing meaningful to progress my education, knowledge, intelligence, or skills. That is not a good day. We are not upholding the standard with a grade 0. Here's your grade 1. Engaged in activities to sustain current level of knowledge, intelligence, intellectual capacities, and skills. Did not do anything beyond what was required to maintain current state. So there we're just getting by. Here's a 2 through 4. Took aggressive action toward mental development. Challenged myself and expanded beyond my current level of knowledge, intelligence, and or skills. Felt excited and accomplished by what I learned. I'll tell you, last week, I only had 3 of those. Nope, I only had 2 2s last week. Last week was tough on the mental discipline side. Achieved a major breakthrough, and this is grade 5. Achieved a major breakthrough in understanding our intelligence, skills, etc. Set a new standard in my intellectual development. Okay, so I'll tell you an adjustment that I made right after I averaged up the mental discipline. I averaged that up, and I realized, okay, as I reflected each night, I realized I was getting distracted by my devices and spending too much time on social media, not producing, just consuming. And that was causing me to go into these negative rabbit holes, etc. Maybe not fully negative, but just distracted rabbit holes, I guess you could say. So I took aggressive action to change my interactions with my phone. I did this on Sunday after I had averaged up Saturdays. So I deleted all non-essential apps, deleted social media, and then I went simple background grayscale on my iPhone. So now the only time I download social is when I'm ready to publish content. And then I'll interact for a brief period of time and then delete it. And I can't tell you, just in the last 24, 48 hours, my mental discipline, clarity, everything is just incredible. So essentially, I created a dumb phone, quote unquote, with my smartphone. Still have the features that I need when I need them, but I'm working on my discipline around it. And I think that's really going to help me level up that grade this next week. So again, how valuable is it to have that ability to reflect on that standard? Because again, when I was struggling, first of all, I didn't have these standards detailed. And secondly, I had no way of evaluating anything. And so I spent week after week after week going into that headspace and losing progress. So if you are feeling that way, take note, write some basic standards down, and maybe, copy this grading scale or figure out your own, but have some way of measuring it where you can quantify it. It's going to help. It's going to help so much. The next standard, spirituality. I deepen my spirituality. I study with intent, pray in gratitude, and serve selflessly. I develop a close relationship with my God. I hone my ability to understand and act on his direction. I actively fight against the forces of evil in my world. I stand for truth in all circumstances. I know that spiritual discipline is the key to unlocking my purpose as a man and fulfilling my calling as a father. This one is deep. It's powerful. Grade 0, did nothing to progress my spirituality, missed opportunities to help the important people in my life, discouraged and weakened myself through sin, was completely disengaged with my family, allowed my ego and emotions to rule my decisions, undermining my credibility as a father. Grade 1, made minimal positive impact, minimally strengthened others, found limited opportunities to help others, went through the motions of prayer and study, and did not feel satisfied by my level of effort, controlled my ego and emotions in normal situations, half-heartedly helped those around me, was minimally engaged with my family. So how often are we in those two categories? I mean, I found myself looking back, I was kind of living at a grade 1 there. I was just kind of minimally doing things to get by, just sort of, appeasing people around me, just doing the minimal. Now, here's a 2 through 4. Actively contributed to the success of my family and those around me, maintained a strong sense of humility and authenticity, felt uplifted, strengthened by my efforts in prayer, study, etc., offered encouragement, made an intentional positive impact in somebody's life. That's a day where, whether your scripture studies in the morning or the evening, or your prayers in the morning or the evening, what you do from a spirituality standpoint is solitude, meditation, prayer, journaling, whatever it is. When you spend time in that solitude, developing your spirituality, you are energized and engaged throughout the day because of that effort. And that's what a 2 through 4 really is. And you're actively improving the lives of those people that you love and care for, and those people that you come into contact with. When you are in that mode, in that grade 2 through 4, instead of, if you were a 0 or 1, when you're checking out at the gas station or whatever, you're disengaged. You're not even looking the person in the eye. You just check out, bounce. You might engage the cashier and encourage them and have some small talk. You might hold the door for somebody. You might do those little things throughout the day that stack up into a meaningful life over years. And so that's the power of having that description for me, is that it helps me remember where I need to be from a spiritual standpoint. Here's a 5. Was completely present and engaged in moment to moment with family, friends, etc. Achieved a new breakthrough in my spirituality. Maintained perfect control of ego and emotions in challenging circumstances. Was able to deeply and positively impact someone else at a singular level. Okay, so that is the epitome of having a grade 5 day holding the standard. I'd say that a grade 5 is really when we're truly living that standard to the fullest. That's a description of what it might look like. And then 2 through 4 is where we're really striving to get there. And the standards should be attainable. They should also be challenging, so that they make us become better for our efforts, right? Now, here is the next, time management. So we've covered physical preparation, mental discipline, spirituality, and now time management. I do not waste time. Time is precious. I organize my time. I consistently maintain a meaningful plan of action for my minutes, hours, days, weeks, and years. I set challenging goals in key areas of my life and pursue them with intent. I value my time above all else. I do not give my time freely to tasks, endeavors, or people that detract from my mission as a father. I invest my time in the things that matter most. Here's a grade 0 on time management. Wasted all of my time. Failed to make even the most basic plan for the day. Moved further away from goals. Gave my time, attention, and effort to things that detracted from my mission as a father, causing myself and my family to regress. Avoid that 0 at all costs. Brutal. No fun. Don't want to go there. Here's a grade 1 in time management. Manage time to a maintenance standard of effectiveness and productivity, but not enough to make progress towards my goals. Half-heartedly engaged with scheduled goals and actions, lacking intent. Plans lacked detail. Quality time with family affected by a lack of intentionality. Grade 2 through 4. Intentionally planned, executed, and adjusted my day in a highly detailed manner. Usage of time was in alignment with goals. Was present and engaged through each action. Was able to experience undistracted quality time with family. Completed day with a detailed plan in place for the next. So when I look at my last week in time management, what did I average? A 1.57. So right below a 2. Well, not right below, but between a 1 and a 2. Now, why was that? Because some of those days I did not have a detailed plan in place for the next. And I was just in that state of distraction because of my device, which is super interesting to note, because what you start to realize is all of these standards interact. And as I mentioned in earlier episodes with our purpose, which is to lead with integrity, provide with consistency, and protect at all costs, that threefold purpose as a father, that purpose and fulfilling that purpose in life is directly impacted by how we hold these standards. And these standards intertwine, they interact with one another. So mental discipline, a lapse in that, can definitely show up in the grades of time management and attention management and spirituality. Of course, physical preparedness as well. They all interact. So maybe my spirituality is grading at a 0, boom, 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 0, 0, 0. Well, don't you think that maybe my mental discipline will also suffer from that? Like I might have a little bit more distraction in my life, 100%. If my physical preparation's in the hole, if I'm hitting a bunch of goose eggs on the scoreboard in that regard, then for sure my time management, attention management are going to suffer. Everything's going to suffer. So very, very powerful insights there. Where was I? 2 through 4. Okay, here's a 5 on time management. Set a new standard in my ability to manage time. Every hour and minute were used intentionally. Maximizing progress towards clearly defined goals. Took full advantage of every minute spent with family. Concluded day by reviewing vision, goals, and performance and making a detailed plan for the next day. That is a solid day. Okay. 5th and final standard, attention management. I develop and utilize my ability to focus. I take care of my physical and digital surroundings. I keep them in order. I create environments, routines, and habits that reduce distractions and enhance productivity. I'm engaged. I am present. I understand that my success as a father is directly connected to my ability to be present and intentional through each moment of the day. Now, as I read that, it's so cool because the example I shared earlier, a direct example of that sentence, I create environments, routines, and habits that reduce distractions and enhance productivity. You might think that deleting all the distracting apps, getting off social, and making your phone grayscale is dramatic. Well, I don't. Because I want to be a present father and I want to be able to be engaged in the things that I'm doing. And if I see something that's pulling me away from that, I better take violent action to correct it, or else a lot of, digression and weakening of my relationships and my role as a father. So I am so grateful for the standards here, because while I shared that when I was referring to mental discipline, as I read the description of attention management, that's very evident to me. And when I look at my scores from attention management, it's also very much reflected and very mirrored by the mental discipline. So here's a grade 0 for attention management. Completely unfocused. Physical and digital surroundings became less organized. Spent a high amount of time on screens or engaged in other distractions, felt a lack of progression overall. High level of distraction dramatically affected my family relationships. Here's a grade 1. Somewhat focused throughout the day, lacked self-discipline in environments, routines, and habits, followed through on some but not all action items, lacked intent. Physical and digital surroundings detracted from my ability to focus. Quality time with my family was minimally impactful. So that is a day where we're just drifting, right? Now, here's a grade 2 through 4 in attention management. Was highly focused throughout the day, accomplished meaningful tasks, followed through on scheduled and action items because of focus level, maintained a high standard of organization and cleanliness in physical and digital environments, avoided distractions and time wasting, was highly focused and engaged with family. Grade 5, achieved a new breakthrough in my ability to focus, wasted no time, devoted focused energy to only the most critical and impactful priorities, sought out opportunities to focus beyond my previous limits, achieved a breakthrough in family relationships with friends, etc., because of highly focused and intentional state. So that's the grading grid. Grade 0 through 5 in those 5 standards of physical preparation, mental discipline, spirituality, time management, and attention management, all interconnected, all woven together. As I read the description of attention management, I see how well it connects to time management and vice versa. I can't focus at my highest level as a father if I haven't managed my time and prioritized tasks. I can't be fully present and let go of all of the things, all of the responsibilities that weigh upon me. I can't let go of those and be present spiritually if I haven't managed my time and attention. The mental focus and the ability to grow mentally is also very much affected by my time management because I'm able to prioritize growth. And then physical preparation undergirds all of that because a sharp, disciplined body leads to a sharp, disciplined mind and confidence, peace, endurance. All of those things flow from a healthy physical body. As I read this, one thing I think I need to include in here is sleep as I look at physical preparation, just because that is something that I know for a fact is key in restoration and energy levels and all of those kind of things. And I don't think I have sleep mentioned in physical preparation. So you guys are on this journey with me, man. I am discovering this. I am figuring this thing out and I'm refining it. So you can rest assured that I don't think that I've arrived. If there's anything this podcast has shown you through the production quality issues and notifications popping off during the podcast, etc., it is that I am definitely on the same path, the path of improvement and growth. And that's what it's all about. Because in a year, I'll look back, and after having done 100 episodes or 200 episodes, I'll look back on this and say, well, I'm glad I started because that allowed me to progress. So start. If you want to get in shape and you are not, go walk, go run, go exercise. If you want to eat better, start today. Do it. Don't wait around. Compound positive decisions and start today so that years from now, you'll look back and be grateful that you started. It's never too late to make improvements in your life and to change for the better. So if you don't have standards, set some. And once you set those standards, figure out a way to grade yourself and then be consistent in that grading process. You may call it self-evaluation, self-reflection, solitude, whatever you need to do to measure how you're doing, do it, because that is going to help you so much in the grand scheme of things. How brutal is it to have all of this stuff in your head? Externalize it, get it out on paper, just like I did. That was so therapeutic for me to take all of the thoughts and the things that I wanted to do and improve and all that and just put it out onto paper, externalize it, get it in front of you, and then start to work on it to craft it. Just like a sculptor with clay or with stone chips away at that final product. You need to do that with your life. Chip away at that granite piece by piece, just like a woodworker making a beautiful instrument. It starts with this rough piece of wood and just, carving a little bit here and there, sanding it, paying attention to the lines, looking at it, examining it underneath the light, to look for any imperfections and then to correct them, and taking time and energy and effort into what you're creating. That is what we're doing with our lives. We can do that with our lives. We've been given the gift of life, and let's not squander it. Let's not take any day for granted. If I had $10 million for you right now and I said, okay, I'm going to give you this $10 million. And as I hand you that briefcase, I say, hey, but here's the catch. You asked what the catch is. Here's the catch. You don't have any tomorrow. You just get the rest of the day. You get $10 million and tomorrow you're done. You're dead. Would you take the 10 mil? Most likely not. I know I wouldn't. So how much is your day worth? How much is your life worth? It's sometimes we forget how powerful and precious each and every single day is and how much we can truly change. It's not the change that takes a long time. It's the decision to change that takes people years or months or weeks, or till they get to a point where they're just totally fed up with where they are. It took me months to decide to change, and I'm still deciding to change every single day. This self-evaluation process, and as I look at my grades from last week, it's helping me make a more informed decision in the changes that I make, and making those changes in a forward momentum, in a momentum building, forward moving manner. That's the idea, is that the choices we make are intentional and they're moving us in the direction of where we want to be as fathers. And that is when we are living life to the fullest. That's when we're living life, what I call full strength. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Reach out if you have any questions or you need anything. I've got some great stuff, great resources that I'm building out for you fathers out there. Anybody listening, don't hesitate to reach out. And you can find me on different social channels. And you can also email me, info@fullstrengthfather.com. And go get after it. Don't waste a moment. Till we meet again, live full strength or die.